Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. Hope everyone's doing well as we've gone past the half year mark and we're knowing the depth of the summer. It's probably going to be pissing it down with rain by the time we get to this podcast, but who cares?
Hi everybody, Matt Guy here. Yep, we're over the halfway mark of the year, and don't we know it? Like, I feel like summer. We had a 4 days of summer. Is that a film? And now it's fucking dead miserable again. Happy start to the podcast.
You know what we can actually do now? Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. Countdown begins. Christmas app is on.
I bet you've already got a list of the films that you're going to be watching this December, haven't you, Stu?
Well, there was a load. Well, it's going to be fucked out because there we are. First swear. It's all going to be messed up here because of the World Cup. So I don't actually know how it's going to work. Because prime Christmas film time is going to be. It's normally between seven. Between 7 and 10 at night, and then watch something else. But that's when the games are going to be on. So, and I can't not watch a World Cup game. I mean, I've watched pretty much everyone possible since 1998. So it's going to be weird. So it might have to be prime ones, including certain Nick Cage ones that we have watched. Both of them. They're both on the roster now forever. So yeah, I hadn't thought about it. Oh, it's a logistical nightmare. Hello, everyone.
You've got plenty of time though, Stu. You can get your plan in action. I'm sure you'll be fine. Obviously, that's Christmas time though. Let's look a little bit before December. Let's start with our second half of the year review. Obviously, because it's July, this podcast's dropping on the 18th of July. So I thought, well, we've missed a few weeks. So why don't we just talk about a couple of films that we've already seen in the last month or so that you think might be worth a viewing? Matt, what's been on your viewing schedule recently?
So I went to see Elvis, which we touched on last week a little bit. I really, really enjoyed it. You know, you've got the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to musical biopics of the last few years. But the Elvis was different in that in the edit suite was where the magic happened. I think with this Elvis film, it was really well put together, like fast paced at times, and coming from the viewpoint of Colonel Parker made it less biopic and more musical story, which is absolutely fine. But it was just a really exciting and colourful watch that I was really surprised with. I didn't know because it was like Baz Luhrmann. I expected it to be big and bolshy and grand and everything, and it didn't disappoint from that point of view. But it was just a really engaging watch. Don't get me wrong. It by the end, I thought this is a 2.5 hour film. By the end of it, like the last portion dragged a little bit, which was a shame. But ironically, the jail that Vegas was to Elvis was the jail that the film became for me. In the end, but it was a really, really good film, and I'm glad I went and saw it in a cinema setting and didn't wait to for it to stream on my IPTV at home because it belongs on a cinema screen.
Your immediate reaction was they may as well start making films. You said right, it's 5-star, 10 out of 10. Are you sticking by that, or have you mellowed on it slightly?
I think I've probably mellowed on it slightly, but I'll see it again, which I very rarely do with the cinema, if I'm honest with you, because I think like time is precious. Time moves by so slowly, and time can do so much. But I will see this again very, very soon. And I think it helps that I like a lot of Elvis's music, and I grew up with my mum being a huge fan and listening to it through her. But the story's great, and the it's so grand, and it's so Hollywood, but not in a bad way. Not in how when people talk about Hollywood being a bad thing. I loved it. I really, really loved it. There are better Chris Nolan films out there that touch the soul, but this was like half a mix of guilty pleasure and half a mix of just fantastic audio and visual spectacle, and I really enjoyed it.
I mean, how you just described that film is how you can describe every Baz Luhrmann film, though, isn't it?
Mhm.
There is that guilty pleasure to it, but there's also that other side to it as well. So I think that's why I'm like I didn't. I won't say I disliked it. I absolutely didn't. I thought it was a good film, but I wouldn't say I thought it was a great film. Like it's on the right side of good for me, but it's very much unfilmed Baz Luhrmann. Like they
Yeah.
properly lean into the whole. What's that old saying about when if you either can tell the truth or the legend, tell the legend.
Mhm.
It was very much tell the legend, and I think I wanted a little bit more of the truth, and I just wasn't given that. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I didn't love it. I just liked it a lot.
Yeah, I think what I've factored into this as well is out of the three of us, I'm probably more of the mark for Tom Hanks than as well. And I thought he put in a stellar performance as well. And so for that, escalated it even more for me, why I enjoyed it. And the fact that it's told from his viewpoint, or at least he narrates, is the reason why we as the audience are led on as part of the con as he plays to everybody else. That's why it's more legend than truth.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Actually, I never considered that because we are given the unreliable narrator to lead us through this tale of woe. Because I remember there was parts like really early doors where Elvis was semi-writing "Are You Lonesome Tonight," which I know for a fact is a song that he hates, that he only did for Tom Parker or for Tom Parker's wife, I believe it was. But he was writing that like right at the start of his career, and just knowing those few little bits did take me out of it. But I think that's just more me than it is other people. Stu, you saw it as well, so wax lyrical or criticise whatever you feel.
I think it was testament to it that there was absolute silence at the end. While that there was nothing, no one moved. Everyone kind of just sat there, kind of stunned. And in that moment, yeah, I was as well. I wasn't thinking it was stop making films. We had a little giggle about it in the foyer after, but yeah, in the moment I thought that was superb. But then after about 5 minutes, I thought, well, yeah, that was good. That was a good film. I mean, it's no Top Gun Maverick, is it? I mean, it's not going to be the best film of the year. But I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know that it was going to be from the Colonel, from his point of view, from what the trailers made out. It was not that at all. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. So I was kind of thrown straight away when he started yabbering on in that weird accent of his, and from a non-country, of course. And I like the first half better than the second half. I think that might have been all the Baz Luhrmann-ifiedness of it all, with all the graphics and the flashiness and all that kind of thing. And when it went all serious and macabre afterwards, it did seem to drag a little bit. But yeah, saying that's picking minor points at something that was really, really excellent. And it's one of them things you recommend that to anyone, even if you're even just I said the next day at work, even if you've got no real interest in Elvis, you could like it as a human tale more than anything else as well. And it stands up on its own from that point of view. So yeah, so I liked it. I'm probably talking 8 out of 10, something like that. It wasn't the best film of the year, but it was nowhere near anything bad at all.
No, not at all. No. But I still maintain they shouldn't have made this film until Elvis is dead. What's the point in making a biopic about a man who's still alive? Like, you've got to wait for him to die. What's the point? Matt, have you seen anything else worthy of mention?
I've started. I can't even remember the name of it. Such as I've only watched the one episode, but it's something I'm going to continue to watch that I enjoyed. It's the Netflix show about like internet terrorists and serial killers and the like. The first episode is about it's about swatting, where like people will send the SWAT team in, like for people that are like live streaming on the internet, and how that became like a phenomenon in the the Twitch community.
Web of Make Believe.
That's it. Yes, that's right. Yeah, Web of Make Believe. So the first episode is on swatting, and then how like this guy would make anonymous tips to high schools saying there's a bomb and all that kind of stuff, and they interview him. and it's really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing where this show goes because it leans into the whole dark side of the web, which I'm fascinated with, and everything about this incel movement and all the stuff that was hinted at in the Batman with like Riddler's side of things and his communities. And the first episode was a really good watch. I just with everything with Stranger Things and having to watch it before it gets spoiled, I've had to only watch the one episode.
Excellent. I've just added that to my Netflix list. That sounds right up my alley as well. Stu, what have you been watching?
Yeah, I'd watched the first one of that today. That's how I knew what he was talking about. But yeah, well, spoiler: this is 4 days until Thor comes out, so it would have been that, obviously. And Andy will hate it, I'll love it, and there we are, easily done. What is fat though at the minute because he's silly is Miss Marvel. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I think because it is different to the usual stuff. It has got cultural stuff behind it, and actual cultural stuff, not kind of Marvelified. And it does represent from what it seems to be from the people who I follow on Twitter who are American Muslims. Not for that reason, not for some incel movement. There's no link there. That they have come out in universal praise of it and saying how great it is, and they're talking about stuff like the partition of India, which I had no idea about. And you think, yeah, Rule Britannia destroying more countries again, and for that to only have happened in 2 generations ago was a shock. I genuinely had no idea. And they go into background of all that kind of thing, as well as all the powers and whatever, as you'd expect. But yeah, it's genuinely, I mean, I presume it's only 6 episodes. It's really, really good. Yeah, I know you tapped out after 20 minutes. But that's when it started getting good. And after the silly Dad Hulk thing, when it actually started showing more of where they come from and the kind of the djinn and the mystics of it all, and it was kind of a little bit Moon Knighty in the kind of showing how you've got a bit of backstory in a bit like Shang-Chi as well. That this whole Phase 4 stuff's been a bit of the mystical rather than the actual. It fits nicely into that, but the actual real background of it, and actually going to India and Pakistan and actually doing stuff there rather than it all being in America all the time, I thought it was really good and a really nice touch. And then you got weddings and that kind of thing. It was just different to what you usually expect. And I didn't know any of this stuff going in, and I know we all know why it's got a low rating on all the things, and it's the least watched because it appeals to the least amount of people. It does. But currently, it's the highest rated Marvel TV show on Rotten Tomatoes by a mile. Critically,
it's not difficult because they've all been shit, but yeah.
I mean, I think it might even be above Peacemaker. Going the DC side of things as well, which I can't believe we didn't mention last week. That's outrageous.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, just give it a chance. It's different, and if you want Marvel to do different things, then at least try and watch it when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the main reason I haven't watched it is purely because I've been doing Stranger Things and The Boys, and I've not had time. So the plan was to just wait until we got to the end and then binge the whole series, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I will watch it in fairness because the reviews have been very positive.
I think that they massively cocked up putting it out at the same time as Obi-Wan. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoke about this fairly recently. Like, there seems to have had a glut of my kind of TV shows all put out at the same bloody time, which just hasn't helped things.
I mean, for them, I mean, it's their own company, so there was no reason to do this.
Yeah,
and
no excuse.
If they had to get this out before Thor, then fine. That's understandable. Just move Obi-Wan back. No one cares. There's going to be no more Star Wars anyway for the rest of the year, is there? So build more anticipation. Just a bit silly all round, but I think it's going to get lost in the weeds again, like a lot of things are.
Yeah, I think so. But you touched on the only other thing, like everything else that I've watched was either mentioned last week or on our last question cast. So the only other thing that I've watched recently would have been the Obi-Wan series. which I was a little bit disappointed with. Like, it was fine, but no more than fine. There was a couple of scenes that really took me out of it when you had Hayden Christensen fighting with Ewan McGregor, but Hayden Christensen clearly looks 20 years older. Like, they haven't even tried to put makeup on him. He looks so much older than the last time we saw him. It looked ridiculous. And just the general series was almost villain of the week esque. It didn't feel like there was a proper overarching storyline. It felt very piecemeal almost, and it didn't work for me, which is a shame because I thought Ewan McGregor was fantastic, and I thought Reva was a really good, interesting introduction into that universe. Sadly, I assume that we probably ain't going to see much of her ever again, but who knows with these things, they might go back and give us more. So there's a couple of positives, but mostly negative for me, I think, with Obi-Wan.
I mean, considering again, it's their own company who did the de-aging on Mark Hamill really, really well in literally months ago, and again, just weird decision making because when I first saw that, I looked and I thought have they done it and it's really bad, or they're just not bothered. And I couldn't tell at first because
No.
you can't, can you? And then you look at it and think, well, why has he got his braids? Surely he'd have his longer hair from when he was turning. Again, this doesn't really make any sense. But then I look at you went on Twitter and there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's good to see them at the current age." And I thought, well, that's not the point, is it? And it's
No, not when he was supposed to be like 19 or whatever he was supposed to be.
There was people saying, "Oh, but it's a flashback of in his current mind." When he's a Jedi, he can remember things. It's like fake memories that you get that you think happened that didn't, that you only see from a photo. So it's all of it odd. But yeah, they should have de-aged. However much we hate it, they should have done it to make any kind of sense at all. And I do agree. I mean, I thought the kid was good. I thought the kid as Leia was all right as child actors go. I think she got the character as good as she could possibly have done. But again,
I think my issue was I never got over the first time we see her where she's being chased through the woods, and the people who were chasing her are like, they're not even jogging.
No, that was
because they're trying to make it look like they can't keep up with it. It was silly bollocks, and I never got over that with that kid. So I just couldn't warm to her.
That wasn't her fault, though. That was them.
It wasn't, but them's the breaks, I'm afraid. But yeah, so that's the only other thing that I thought was worthy of mention. And to be honest, it wasn't really worthy of mention. It was pretty cack, to be perfectly honest. So for the rest of July, two big releases left. We've got the Jordan Peele film Nope. I think they've done an absolutely wonderful job of showing us several trailers, and they've told us absolutely fuck all about this film. I watched the last one, which was released a couple of weeks ago at this point, and it's supposed to tell you like the most before we get into the cinema. And all I can say is I think it's supposed to be about an alien invasion. Like, there's no real hard and fast evidence in that trailer to tell you about it. So they've done a wonderful job with these trailers. So often we criticise them for showing us too much. And with this one, they've shown us a lot without telling us a single thing. Stu, you're also a big Jordan Peele fan. And it feels like we've been waiting a lifetime since Us hit the cinema. So how excited are you for the modern day Hitchcock's work to come back to the screen?
Yeah, it's he still doesn't get any credit though, does he? No one talks about it. It's only us and like people in the kind of, I say, horror community. I'm not even part of the horror community at all in any stretch of the word. But it's like certain people on Twitter you talk to and you see talk about Jordan Peele and you think, okay, fine. But even they don't talk about his actual films. They talk about his comedy stuff and you think, oh, just give it a chance. It's amazing. All of it is amazing. I mean, obviously I've watched Nope trailers whatsoever, as is the way. I mean, it was especially hard watching Elvis because that was whatever that was for. Was it Thor? It was Thor. They were trying to ruin Thor for me, were they? So that was hard. But yeah, bring it on. I can't wait. I mean, it's day one at this point.
Excellent.
Don't even care what it's about. Don't care what it's about. Day one.
And plus, like Daniel Kaluuya's in it. I'm such a big fan of that guy that I'd have been there regardless, I think. But yeah, excellent. The other big film is the one that was supposed to be out on my birthday, and I'm still annoyed that it got pushed back. And that is the DC League of Super Pets. Matt, you're very critical of the whole comic book movie world, with legit reasons, I think, as well. Do you think that this is a good idea of a way forward, that they can just tell individual stories within the comic book world that don't have to have massive ramifications and change the multiverse for everybody? Do you think this is a good idea to just give us individual stories?
Well, listen, I've only seen the trailer for this, and it looked more interesting than the majority of superhero films I've seen over the last 18 months or 2 years of this podcast. I think it's good that they are doing something from a purely business and marketing point of view. It's good that they're doing something as an entry point for kids as well. Do you know what I mean? Kids will see this, they'll move on to other animated superhero stuff, maybe into Spider-Man into the multiverse, stuff like that, and then it's a gateway for them to get into that product. So it's a genius move, really. But it looks fun. It's got The Rock in it and Kevin Hart are always a great combination. And I think this is a good move, and it looks decent, to be fair. I can't criticize it for that. It's nice to have something that I don't need any kind of backstory to it. It helps, though, that I know about some of the characters that they talk about in the trailer. Like, it helps, but a kid doesn't need to know that to have a good time with this. And as much as we will talk about this film like it's a serious piece of work, it's a kid's film at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter our opinion on it. It only matters for people that are 20 years younger than us, or even more than that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a good thing that they're doing this, and hopefully it hits a home run.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments completely. So we'll move on to August now. August looks like it's going to be the month of Idris Elba. We've got 2 Idris films coming out in a month, which seems to be absolutely incredible. First up is a film called Beast, which is released on the 19th. Stu, this basically looks like it's going to be Primal that we saw with Nick Cage, but they've actually got a budget for it. We've got Idris Elba, Sharto Copley starring in this movie. I don't know a lot else about it. The trailer looks quite interesting. A family goes into the outback, possibly in Africa, and a lion attacks. Like, it looks proper. It looks really lowbrow, but really, what's the term? Like an elevator pitch. They've got 30 seconds to sell a film, and the film is a lion attacks Idris Elba. What more can you ask for in a movie?
Yeah, with Shelter Copley as well, which is always a fun time. And he's another one of them. He's another one on the good guy must watch list with Andy Serkis. Where it doesn't matter what kind of silly nonsense it is, I'll go and watch it. So yeah, and obviously everyone loves Idris Elba. I mean, you see him every single day, doing different. I seen him on a different advert today on a plane. I don't know what that one's for. It was Sky Glass or Sky Go or whatever.
Okay,
latest Sky thing. That was last year. And now he was on a plane doing something. He's on telly every day, and yet you still want more Idris Elba, and he doesn't age. So bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, the other Idris Elba film, that one's released on the 31st of August, and this is the 3,000 Years of Longing. It's a return to the screen for George Miller. We haven't seen George Miller since Mad Max Fury Road, which was 2015, if I remember correctly. It looks both weirdly similar, but also wildly different to what we're expecting from a Mad Max director. How's this one grab you?
I'm not sure if it does. This essentially is American Gods meets Aladdin meets Calendar Girls.
Yeah,
and I'm
Right,
not sure,
yeah.
and I'm not sure how I feel about that. If I'm honest, like, it looks like it's batshit crazy, and it looks like I should enjoy it. But then Sam watched the trailer with me, and Sam just said to me, "Oh, so basically her last wish is that Idris Elba can give her that genie dick." Essentially, like, her last wish will be that he now is a human and they can go to Bone Town. That's essentially what, like, the plot of the film will be. and I'm got no reason to not believe her because it's probably exactly like that's all. That's pretty much what it looks like straight from the off, and it's this crazy wacky world. But then you've got the old tropes of like the older women fancy the genie, and it's I don't know. I'll watch it with trepidation, but I'm not expecting it to be a banger.
I've got to admit, had it not been George Miller, Idris Elba, Tilda Swinton, I would probably have ignored this film. But those three names on a film is going to make me watch it, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you are right. We all know that the ending is going to be, I wish that you were a real boy. That's basically what it's going to boil down to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to September, that's the month that Disney Plus takes over. We're getting a Pinocchio live action film with Tom Hanks. Matt, obviously, you've already said that you're a big Tom Hanks fan. Do we need more live action or semi live action versions of Disney classics at this point, though, Matt?
I think we do. I think we do. I think these stories need to be told to new audiences, and I know, if I remember correctly, I remember you being, maybe you were, maybe you weren't, critical of like the live action Jungle Book and like the ones that came around that time. I enjoyed, and I think I'll enjoy this as well. I mean, especially if it leans into the more, because it's set in like a fascist time, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
So if they lean into that a lot more, I think that especially with the director, this has got the chance to get really dark really fast. And if they lean into that, especially, I think that there's a story there to be told. Listen, if we're getting constant revamps of everything under the sun, it might as well be something that are adored tales throughout time that are retelling, as opposed to the next fucking Fast and Furious. You know what I mean?
That's completely fair, yeah. Obviously, you touched on the director, Robert Zemeckis. He's got a wealth of excellent films behind him. We are also getting another Pinocchio film come out later this year. I believe it's stop motion with Guillermo del Toro. Now, I expect that to be a very different kind of film to the one that Disney will be pumping out.
Mm-hmm.
So I am looking forward to that one, purely because I love Del Toro's work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got the opportunity to have both sides of what we enjoy as the extremes of our tastes here, really. The dark and miserable, and then the massively colourful and bright, which seems to be, there's no middle ground for us on this podcast. So we get the chance to have both, really, with these two releases.
Stu, I can't remember, what are your opinions on the live action-ish remakes of classics?
Whatever. I mean, I like the Beauty and the Beast one, but I like Beauty and the Beast anyway. Back in the 90s, I remember watching that one, and I don't like trying to think of how many I've watched. Is that the only one? Maybe I've seen. I might have seen the Jungle Book. I honestly don't. I can't remember, and that's not a good sign, is it? So, I've seen it already. I don't care. That's the thing. But again, it's not everything's made for me, is it? I mean, it'd be a messed up world if it was.
Yeah, very true.
But it's got to the stage now where there's so many things being remade that if I've already seen it, then it automatically goes to the back of the queue because there's so many other things to watch. But saying that, stop motion Del Toro Pinocchio, we know it's going to be fucked up. So,
yeah, it could be a dark version of it.
Yeah, it'll be messed up. You can almost see him like Pinocchio sitting on his back and a woman like straddling him and getting him to tell a lie that way, that kind of thing happening, and it wouldn't surprise you at all. But that kind of thing, yeah, bring that on. That's different, but nah, not for me. Not this time.
Matt, Hocus Pocus 2. I don't know why, but I feel that you're probably the one most excited about this out of the three of us. Is that fair?
If most excited means because I'll get a night to myself because Sam will see it on the night it's released, then yes. I've got nothing against Hocus Pocus. It's just not my world. Like Sam went to go see it in the Halloween just gone because Cineworld released it and she got dead excited for it. And it's nice to see her be excited for a film at the cinema and not just me dragging her along to see something because it's Orange Wednesday.
This one is Disney Plus, so I feel that you may have to be dragged along anyway.
Oh my god,
There's no escape.
This is a terrible development. This is a sidebar to that. I don't know if I've mentioned this on this podcast, but I've grown up immensely in the last year to realise that whereas before I would think of Love Island as the absolute worst thing on television,
Yes.
I now respect it gratefully for the fact it gives me an hour to myself 6 nights a week.
7.
Because it's not on a Saturday, is it?
Yes, it is. It's uncut bits on a Saturday.
Oh.
Good God.
No, sorry, Stu. I get an hour to myself where Sam is in her happy place. I am in my happy place, doing whatever it is that I want to do, and just get that hour. And whereas before I used to think, God, what a load of shit this is. But you know what? She's happy, and I'm happy having my hour to myself. Everybody's happy. So thank you, Love Island, for existing. Because you have brought some happiness in my bitter, shallow life.
You know, all that Australian bollocks that you watched, Married at First Sight and all that kind of nonsense. How could you not like Love Island? It's exactly the same stuff.
No, it's not, Stuart. Don't be silly now. Come.
I've got no horse in this fight. I've dog in this fight even. I've not watched a second of either of those shows. I just know that they're not going to be for me, unfortunately. Anyway, moving on. We've also got a big screen adaptation of Salem's Lot. Stu, Stephen King adaptations have been a mixed bag, to say the least, really. This one is going to be written and directed by Gary Doberman, who did Swamp Thing, It, Annabelle. Does that fill you with confidence for this adaptation?
I mean, yeah, because I loved it, both of them. For part one more than the second, obviously, but yeah, you wanted to say that rather than anything else in his filmography for me to be now excited about this film, because it could have gone a very different way. I mean, we all know how kind of weird and campy the original 80s, the 80s version of it was. Tim Curry. So it could have gone down that way, and it went down the. Say that it was terrifying, but it wasn't terrifying to me. But there's some people who I watched it with were almost on, like they were liquefied in fear. I mean,
Yeah.
To be fair, we watched it in 4DX, and the water and the blood and all that kind of thing was quite horrific. But still, yeah, bring this on. And I like Stephen King. I mean, there's like things like Under the Dome. Like there's a series that no one watched, adapted from one of his books, and yeah, the ending, as per usual, was a bit shit. But even things like that, I mean, that was I think it was 4 seasons in the end. Nice idea, relatively well executed, nice old time, and that's kind of what I associate with Stephen King, really, on the whole. Never want to say no to it. So yeah, bring it on.
I will always say, if you like Stephen King, I would recommend The Mist to anyone. The film, not the TV series. I've not seen it, but I'd heard the TV series was a bit shit. But the film, one of my favourite Stephen King adaptations. Brilliant. There's another film out in September that I'm quite looking forward to, called Don't Worry Darling, which is the Florence Pugh and Harry from One Direction.
That's what it was.
I thought that really good, like a mix between Stepford Wives and Vivarium.
Looks incredible, that does.
Yeah. And it's got Gemma Chan in as well, and she was like a highlight of that really terrible Eternals film. So I'm hoping this might be the film that gets to launch her into Hollywood a bit more, I think. But I'm really looking forward to that. And it might just be because Florence Pugh can do no wrong in my eyes, but I am looking forward to it. October, Halloween is coming. It's coming to an end as well, because Halloween Ends, the film, is released on the 14th of October. I've still not seen Halloween Kills from last year. And honestly, I feel like Michael Myers is not really the great villain he's made out to be. Like, he's not the most interesting of the whole horror franchises for me. Stu, do you give a shit about the Halloween franchises and Halloween Ends?
Yes and no, because I mean, I like the original, okay, and then I like the reboot kind of sequel, whatever that. We need a proper phrase for that.
Yeah.
But same as you, I didn't see it last year. I don't know why. So I went to watch Candyman, and it was primed, and I thought, well, yeah, I like the remake. Um, let's go and see this one, and I never did. And it's been sitting there all year long. We all got access to it, and I've never watched it. So I think just out of curiosity's sake, I will watch this. It's just because it does need to end sometime. But no one really talked again, like we talked about before. No one with Peaky Blinders. No one talked about kills, did they?
No.
And it's never a good sign when no one talks about things. And you think something like that would be memeable, and nothing, like nothing
It
whatsoever.
came and went, didn't it?
Yeah.
The reason I didn't bother, like our friend Ash Dolan, he just shat on it, like, and he's a fan of them. And I thought, if a fan of them doesn't like it, someone who doesn't really care, he's not really gonna to bother. Matt, you're not really much of a horror hound. Where does Halloween sit for you?
I like, the original more as a history piece more than anything, like understanding it and appreciating it as for what it did for the genre. But I've got no real interest in watching any of the rebooted versions of this kind of stuff unless they're touted as being sensational. I've had my heart broken with Texas Chainsaw Massacre enough to not really give a lot of stock to this kind of stuff. I mean, maybe when it was rebooted and it was so excellent that I had the opportunity to change that, but there are only so many hours in the day, and I don't think I can dedicate it to stuff that I'm not that bothered about like this.
No, that's entirely fair. The other film that's going to be big in October, Black Adam, finally gets its DC release after the rescheduling fiasco that was earlier this year. So The Rock has finally entered the chat when it comes to the superhero realm. We've seen the first trailer. I presume Stu hasn't seen it, but the first trailer has been released. I thought it looked exciting as someone who knows a lot about DC Comics, but I also realised that a lot of the characters in it are ones that most people probably have no idea about. Matt, thoughts on Black Adam?
Yeah, I'm holding judgment on it for now. I like the look and feel of it, and I think you always get intrigue because it's The Rock. But I do think that we're now at the halfway point in the year of fatigue with The Rock as well. I think it's starting to turn slightly, maybe.
That's impossible. It's never going to happen.
I think it is. And I'm not saying he needs to do a dramatic piece now to as a palate cleanser, but I don't know. Superhero fatigue 100% has kicked in. Whether the Rock fatigue has kicked in, maybe or maybe not. But he looks good enough. But it's never going to be something that I'm going to absolutely. It's never going to be something that I get a midnight release showing for, because I don't have the prior knowledge, and I won't get all of the innuendos and all of the subtle nods to things that would pass me by.
Stu, what are your thoughts?
I've got no idea about any of it. I've got no clue. Which is, in a weird way, I'm quite looking forward to, because a lot of Suicide Squad characters I didn't really know who they were. And the Suicide Squad, not that shit one.
Yeah.
But it made no difference. And like Peacemaker and what came from it, how brilliant they were. Just lumping them together with characters I had no idea about and didn't care about going in. I'm going in with an open mind. The stuff I like the Snyder Justice League more than you two, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched that in the normal one and in black and white. And it's sitting there over there, and I'll watch it again at some point. But it's a time commitment more than anything else. But things like the Suicide Squad was fun. I haven't seen Shazam, don't care. Aquaman, I liked Aquaman. Who knows what's going to happen with the second one now with... let's not say. But yeah, Black Adam, just for a curiosity point of view and the fact that it's The Rock. So
Yeah.
with characters I don't know of, so I've got no investment in yet. So yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, excellent. We'll get to Shazam in a little bit, but I would thoroughly recommend the first film. It's a fun movie. But moving on to November, the big release really in November is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which I just realised when I was writing this up is less than 6 months away, and we seem to have heard and seen very little from this movie. And pretty much everything we have heard is basically that Letitia Wright has been difficult to work with. It doesn't bode well that they've been hiding this movie somewhat, especially in light of, you know, Chadwick Boseman no longer being with us. You'd think this would be one of their tentpole movies, and it feels like they've hidden it away somewhat. And maybe it's just me because Phase 4 has been a bit shit, to be perfectly honest. But what little interest I had in Black Panther 2 before just seems to have completely gone now. Stu, what do you think? Have you got any hopes and fears for Black Panther 2?
I hadn't even thought about it until now. But like I said, I mean, where is Black Panther on my rankings? Because it's like I said about Miss Marvel, it's not for us, is it? It's number 10, so it's 10 out of 20, 28 so far. 27 if we discount Eternals. So it's just there. I liked the first one clearly more than a lot of the others. I'd rather they do this than be like this, so than talk about it all the time. And maybe because they've had so much to get out, so like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, and then you got Thor. I mean, I haven't really seen much for Thor either, really. I think the last week was when we watched Elvis was the first time I'd seen been infiltrated with a trailer for it, and that's a week out. Especially in the cinema, and obviously there's the trailers online and stuff, but in the actual cinema itself, to go all that time, normally you're bombarded and I have to do my ear popping thing and it hurts me. But that was the first one I'd seen. And maybe this is the new way of doing things and I'll bring it on. I like it this way. That don't talk about it, just release it. 13, 14 years in now that people are going to go and watch it in the billions and it's going to make shitloads of money, like Doctor Strange 2 did. When you look at when I was having that argument on Twitter a couple of months ago, like someone said, "Oh well, Doctor Strange 2 didn't make any money." I went, "Well, literally did." It doesn't take you. You can just Google it, and you can see how much money yet again people went to watch it in the drove. So it's going to be important for certain people. Is it for us? You're going to hate it anyway because you like the first one because of Chadwick anyway, more than the actual film. Which again, when I watched all of them back, I tend to agree a bit more that it wasn't as good as when I first watched it, and obviously that end fight scene with the monorails was absolute shit. So we'll see. And I can't. Is there anything between now and then? After Miss Marvel, I don't think there is there?
Not on TV, I don't think.
No, so maybe there's a big build-up for that because of how important the first one was and how critically acclaimed the first one was as well. But 6 months out, 5 months out does seem a bit dry. And, I agree with that. I don't know why.
Matt, should they have left Wakanda alone, knowing that, Boseman's not going to be there? They can still use the characters, but just take them over to New York when needed? Or is this the right thing and getting back to it?
It's a good question. I don't think that... How do I say this without coming across really callous? But yes, it's awful what happened to him and his legacy, but is it any worse than anybody in Hollywood dying? Oh, it's a terrible thing to put. Like people die all the time in the arts, and we don't stop making a genre of music, or we don't stop releasing a kind of album, or we don't stop releasing a book. And so make it a legacy piece, make it a celebration of his impact on the first film, not try and hide it away because of risk of tarnishing it. You know what I mean? Like, let's make it a celebration of his of why Black Panther was so celebrated, and why, because it was something different, because we didn't get a superhero story in New York. Because there's fucking loads of those. Let's do it in Wakanda. Let's do all the story in Wakanda. Do you know what I mean? Let's celebrate what made that film at the time feel unique, as opposed to every single cookie cutter Marvel superhero film that we get.
Absolutely fair. Moving on to December, Avatar: Way of the Water. Stu, this is all on you, mate.
I can't wait. I can't wait. You don't understand. I mean, I've talked about this for the whole 2 years that we've been doing this podcast. It might be a midnight release. I might even go to Birmingham and stay there and just go and watch it properly. Because no one's going to come with me anyway, are they? So I might go to midnight IMAX in Birmingham and stay in the Weather Lodge, just so I can see it first. I honestly can't wait. It's one of my favourite things ever. And I went to watch it the other day. And I thought, no, not yet. No, I can't watch it again yet. And I've only seen this film twice in my entire life, and because I love it, I love it so much, I don't want to ever tarnish it. Which sounds
Why, Stu?
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
I don't mean
know.
this and why it isn't. I'm saying it's a bad film, but it just seems such a strange film to be the super fan of, when you could watch Pocahontas and watch the same story and it'd be better.
And Ferngully, yes, I know, haha.
Yeah.
But you've probably never seen Ferngully, have you? You're too young.
No, I've not seen Ferngully, no.
No?
It's excellent.
I actually said this to Gully on the Fancast, and he thought I was joking about that there was a film in the 80s that was shown at school about acid rain. And he didn't even know what acid rain was. I went, no, it was another one of these things that they used to push on us. Like COVID, let's get there. But no, I don't know why I love it so much. It doesn't make any sense, and yet I know it's probably like that space, that film on Mars, that John thing that I can never remember the name of.
John Carpenter.
There you go, John Carpenter.
No, John Carter, sorry. Yeah.
Again, it's pretty much like that, but blue. And I know it's not the best film in the world, but I love it so much, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense.
I think there's an element of like everyone knocking it makes you just rally against them to like it even more, even though it's a bit shit.
Oh no, I loved it ever since the first moment I saw it. I came out because I can't remember who I watched it with. It might 2000. Goldie might have been there. I don't know. They'll let us know who went to watch it with me.
Did who hurt you, Stu? Because you've obviously used this film as a regression. Like, something happened at the time, and you went and saw this film, and you used that as a blocker to whatever traumatic event happened to you at the time. You know, I've never known someone talk so passionately about this film.
You know what? I've got an Avatar Holdall. They've got my shin pads in for football. It's yellow, so it's sustainable. And I don't know. Maybe because they're blue cats and cats are nice. Again, don't know. But I remember coming out of this film thinking that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And when it was released on HD DVD and not Blu-ray at first, when that whole battle was going on, I was genuinely upset because I thought I'm gonna have to find a way of getting a HD DVD player now to watch this again. And eventually, it came to Blu-ray years later, and that's when I watched it again for the second time. But that was on a TV in 3D, not on a projector in 3D. That's the next phase. And I'm going to
what do the dozens of you that love this film call yourselves? The Avatites or the pure? Okay,
yeah. We can link our tails all day long. Don't worry about that.
I bet you do. Don't Google space docking, kids.
Yeah. I didn't know what docking. I was looking at docking for something that happens in Lightyear, and it's a very different thing altogether. I'd never heard that term before. Eyes wide open.
Not one for our Jewish listeners. Put it that way.
No,
it's not.
But yeah, I honestly can't wait, and I haven't done it in 2 years, but I will be taking over the Cage Fighting Twitter account that night when it happens, because look, you got me all wound up now, and I need to drink myself to sleep. I'm too excited.
Good God! So like about a month ago, it was all about Tom Cruise, and now it's about
And I've worked it out anyway. You're an avatar.
incredible. Matt, are you even slightly bothered about watching Avatar 2?
I'll see. Yeah, I'll go see it because it looked beautiful in the trailer. I
Yeah.
saw like it looked incredible. But I'll go see it in like 4DX for the spectacle of it, not
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I'm looking forward to it because of its plot merit or anything else. Like I've got no doubt it'll be like a decent film. It'll be amazing to watch, but I've just never known someone get so excited about
No,
this film. Well, it's
no.
bizarre to me, but hey, listen, different strokes for different folks.
Hmm. Thankfully, after that, we've got 21st of December. We've got 2 films coming out that I'm quite looking forward to. First up, though, Matt, you're the cage fighting music man. How's a Whitney Houston biopic for you? I want to dance with somebody.
I am a bit nervous about this one only because there's all the kind of domestic violence and drugs and all sorts involved in this story, isn't there? If I remember correctly, with
Yeah.
Whitney Houston. Now, all of the let's talk about the 3 major biopics that have come out over the last few years: Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man, and Elvis. All of them, whilst all 3 stories are tinged with controversy and negativity and stuff like that, the 3 of them aren't. They're celebration pieces at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really hard for them to make this a celebration piece, considering what happened, sadly, to Whitney Houston in her life. So, is it going to be really macabre? Is it going to be really? I just don't know how they'll play this one out.
I think what they need to do is lean into the just looking for an IMDb. What's Love Got to Do with It? The Tina Turner biopic from the 90s.
Mm.
I think they're going to have to lean into that of it and go with the roughness of what was going on between Whitney and Bobby, because I actually say, like, there is a happy story at the end of it, but you have to go through a lot of shit to get there, and I don't think you can skirt over the domestic violence issues that was going on there. Like with Elvis, they completely overlooked the fact that Priscilla was 14 when they met, and you can sort of do that because it's as much Priscilla's story as it is Colonel Tom Parker's in that movie. So I get why they've done that. I don't feel that you can do that with Whitney Houston. I think you need to get into the weeds of it and talk about the awfulness and how she managed to come out the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Albeit I know it didn't end in her life particularly well. I believe it was a drug overdose, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I am kind of looking forward to it, though. It'll be an interesting story nonetheless, because I do think that Whitney Houston is a very interesting character to look at.
I think we, as not being from that world musically, probably don't appreciate how much of a mega superstar she was as well. Like, to the point where she's up there as one of the most successful and beloved artists of all time, whereas to us, it's that song and The Bodyguard. That's like all we think about. So
Yeah. I was flicking through TikTok the other day, and occasionally, like, just a random song might pop up, and what's it called? Let me just double check. It's Not Right, But It's Okay came on. Someone was dancing along to it. And I thought, fucking hell, this is actually a really good song. I don't think I gave any time of day when it was first out. And yeah, I think she did have some absolute bangers that maybe it's just because I'm a male of this age that it never quite made an impression on me. But listening back to her back catalogue now, she has got some absolute belters in there.
It's one of those, like, my surprise over music these days holds no bounds these days. I don't know who I am anymore because Harry Styles' new album is an absolute delight on the ears. So who knows anymore.
Who knows?
I mean, that song as well is my my backwards dancing song at weddings. So it's it'll be hard to sit in my seat and not kind of jive around to that. I want to dance with somebody, not Harry Styles. Let's just get that right.
Yeah, excellent. The only other film that I wanted to mention this year is Shazam 2, The Fury of the Gods. I really enjoyed the first film. It was one of those where DC Universe was off to a bit of a shaky start with the whole Snyder verse of it all. And this one came out of nowhere almost, where it was actually this quite light film that was meant for more than just the Snyder Bros of it all. So I'm kind of hoping that they lean into that again, and we get the light and fun side of the character more so than like some of the dark. I know a lot of the fans of the Snyderverse want the DC universe to just be that and nothing else. So I'm really hoping we get a bit more levity from the comic book world as we see the year out. I would thoroughly recommend it, Stu. I know you said you've not seen the first Shazam, but Mark Strong's in it, for crying out loud. When he's Mark Strong, not anything less than excellent. So, yeah. And obviously, because we've got Black Adam, and Black Adam is Shazam's or Captain Marvel's foe, we might even get a Rock cameo. So, fingers crossed on that one. We've got a few films that have been bumped 12 months. They were supposed to be out this year, but they're going to be out next year by the looks of it. So Aquaman's been moved, John Wick 4, Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, The Flash, Indiana Jones 5, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, The Marvels, and Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget are all now going to be out next year. Anything off that list that you're looking forward to, Stu?
Chicken Run? I can't listen. I've said this before. I don't know how you've not seen Chicken Run.
I know. I need to sort that out.
Yeah, it's pretty much The Great Escape, but with poultry. It's superb. Well, we had that on when you used to get the video man. He used to come around the pub, and we had a pirated video of Chicken Run. This was in the time when I had. So I remember it was about it's one of them tales. It's around about the same time when I got a double bed, but it was Dean's. I think it was Dean's parents who. Anyway, there was a double bed at his house that they were getting rid of, and it was brand new. And we said, "Well, I'll have it, but how are we going to get it down the road?" Because obviously none of us could drive at the time. And I went, "Well, if it's got wheels, we'll just push it down. It'll be fine." Because obviously his house is at the top of the road, and mine's like it was 5-minute walk away. So we did it on a weekday when there was no traffic, and pushed this double bed down the road, and just sat on it and kind of
Jesus Christ.
Straight down the road.
I'm picturing Last of the Summer Wine here.
this is like 15, 16, and it was round about for some reason that's round about the same time as Chicken Run came out, and I watched that video so many times, and it's really good. And the fact that you like Aardman as well, you've never seen it.
Yeah. I think it's because I've always said to my other half, we'll watch it one weekend, but then it's just remembering to watch it when she's round and we're going to watch whatever film. So I need to like write it down and leave it on a sticky note or something, I think, just to remind myself.
Yeah.
Matt, anything off that list you fancy?
Chicken Run will be, oddly enough, because it's the only film I think I've ever seen with my dad at the cinema. So, however many years on, we'll just go watch that as like a nostalgia piece, I think.
Excellent. Obviously, like Spider-Verse for me, it's the best thing in any Marvel universe that's been done. I love the Spider-Verse film, so that's high on the list. John Wick 4, it feels like we've been waiting forever since the last one. And I'm kind of fascinated what to expect from The Flash. Not even so much the film, just like how they're going to advertise it without Ezra Miller. So I just want to see what clusterfuck we're going to get of The Flash. So that's the other one. So that's us done this week. Next week, we'll be back to the Question Cast rotation. Please make sure you've got us on the Twitter and Instagram at CageFightingPod, and any emails to cagefightingpod@gmail.com. Please make sure you subscribed on whatever podcast that you're listening to us on. And if you could leave a review, we would love you forever. So for this week, Matt, would you like to say goodbye?
Take it easy, everybody. Look after yourselves, check in on your pals, and have a great second half of 2022.
Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Do not Google docking at work.
I wouldn't, not It wasn't docking. What was the fucking term? Oh, forget it. I'll have to edit this out. I can't remember what the term is, but it's one where like people rub up felching. I had to Google felching for some reason, and then I then found out what felching was, which means sucking out of an orifice. I then changed someone's name on a document to felch. Yeah, excellent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that letter then went out for everyone to see. So yeah, that was great. But Felch sort of sounds like a surname, so I think I got away with it. Anyway, it's goodbye from me, and remember, be excellent to each other.